John Allee, co-founder of the Allee Shadow Tradition, along with Lily Allee. I hope you'll excuse me wearing sunglasses, but I'm not accustomed to doing interviews during the daylight. My eyes are very sensitive, and I'm usually a night person. The tradition I spoke of is not a religion, but a philosophical and magical group. Well, I certainly play one on television, but if you've ever studied the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey, you'll recognize the fact that he was not promoting devil worship. He was promoting deism. I follow the same path as LaVey. I believe there is a force which permeates the universe, and you can call it God or Satan or whatever you like. It isn't exactly atheism, as many have suggested. I also believe the universe was created and not accidental. We have the painting, but to dismiss that there is no painter is illogical. Not necessarily. The Creator manifests itself as the thing it creates. We are it. It is us. Every one of us is the center of a universe. Therefore, individual perception is our reality. And if your universe is an atheist one, then for you, a deity really doesn't exist. On the other hand, if you believe in Allah, Vishnu, Yahweh, Satan, or whatever, then for you, a deity really does exist. The self-assumed delusion becomes one's operational and functional personal reality. We create gods in our own image from a force within our psyche, and the universe tends to mirror back what individual consciousness projects upon it. This is the whole idea behind co-creationism. It's that simple and that difficult to understand. Personal reality is not a one-size-fits-all situation. One of my students mentioned the experience of a man who was an atheist most of his life. He then experienced a personal crisis, and an epiphany occurred where a deity came and spoke to him. Following this experience, the former atheist turned his life around, stopped drinking, developed a renewed sense of purpose, joined a philanthropic group. The question is, well, if perception is reality, how can a God seemingly come to you if your perception is that of an atheist? And I'll endeavor to answer that. I've heard more than a few stories of people having an epiphany following a crisis. One such story describes the genesis of the Temple of Set. But I'm not satisfied with a simple pop psychology explanation. Such transformative experiences do occur, but it is questionable whether a devil or saint was involved. I offer another explanation. Change is the universal constant, and that includes one's personal reality. The subjective universe we carry between our two ears is malleable and can be influenced by external forces, both physical and non-physical. We live in a universe of infinite possibilities and layers upon layers of intelligence, subtly interwoven. There are other life forms and other dimensions coexisting. I theorize that in times of crisis, an expansion of consciousness may occur. The mind reaching out, if you will. In such cases, one can experience contact with an intelligence more complex than his own, and his mind will translate the experience as an encounter with a mythic form. What's important is not the mask they come wearing, be it devil or saint, but the message they impart and how it affects the individual's life. Well, you cannot even define evil without discussing what is good. Therefore, the two are inseparable. One cannot understand darkness without light. One cannot appreciate day without night. Opposites complement, define, and complete one another. To destroy all evil in the world means there would be no good left to appreciate. Therefore, the shadow dweller does not worship or disrespect either quality. We value ourselves and nature instead and venerate opposition in balance. The definition of good and evil is subject to change because it exists only as a perception. Evil is a label we assign according to our mood swings to those who are politically incorrect. The ascended masters of Eastern philosophy become the fallen angels of Western philosophy. One man's demons are another man's saints. Theologians create gods and devils in man's image, then conflict between them to divide the heart and conquer the soul. They pit spirit against matter, then appoint themselves position of supreme arbiter, divine interpreter of right and wrong, good and evil. Good are the things we like. Evil are the things we dislike. It often depends on who or what you are. As our friend Diane Vera says, if you're a mouse, cats are evil. But to the pet owner, cats are heavenly. Therefore, evil is not an essence. It is a value judgment. From a Christian point of view, Satan is evil. Shadow dwellers are truth seekers who desire to peek behind such labels. Of course, there are certain ethical wrongs, but they are set by a society or culture so that all can live harmoniously. Examples of these would be thieving, disrespectful behavior, and killing or abusing an innocent. A chief attribute of the adversary is the role of devil's advocate. The shadow dweller illustrates opposition and balance, wielding contradiction like a scalpel in the hand of a skilled surgeon. Our objective? Closure to this unnatural dichotomy, this madness you call good versus evil, bringing flesh and spirit together, the establishment of a new world order, free of guilt, self-loathing, and shame, where every man and woman is the god of his or her own life. We look upon religion as the starter of wars and the breeder of hate and intolerance. We believe that people are intelligent enough to instill moral and ethical codes into a societal structure without the threat of an imaginary supernatural being wreaking havoc on an offender. As I've explained, if you're going to believe there is a God and a devil who are enemies, that will become your personal reality, and you will be at war with yourself, because those two elements will be struggling against one another in your mind. It is the conflicted personality that's the easiest to control and manipulate, and that's how organized religions operate. Islamic fundamentalists and Christians define themselves as monotheists, but practice dualism. They imagine a devil opposed to the Creator, but creation cannot be divided against itself. Using their own logic, one could argue, if a devil physically exists, then God exists. And if God created Satan, then God is Satan. You cannot create something unless it is a manifestation of your own will. How can you make a computer if you don't know how? You would have to base it on knowledge of that computer, or in this case, God's knowledge of evil. So, God is evil. If God created hell, he'd have to know about eternal torment, meaning God's tormented. If God created humans, and humans are imperfect, God is imperfect. Even the Bible contradicts the split-mind theology practiced by Christians, and I refer to Isaiah 45, verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. The result of manifesting something in your life can be pleasant or catastrophic. In this case, it all depends on how the individual relates to this dark figure. Do you believe in a devil who is the heroic symbol for some during the Middle Ages, liberating the serfs from the shackles of slavery to an oppressive church system? If you attach yourself to this hero figure, that will be reflected in your life. You may even become a positive role model for others. But if you follow the current Hollywood trend and worship a nasty devil who rebels against everyone, chances are you will become the thing you worship, an outcast. Someone who can't work and play well with others. In other words, a loser. To quote Thomas Paine, belief in a cruel God makes a cruel man.